let's move on to a huge
UFC?
event. UFC, we're going to stay with UFC 167. GSP
this shit is the
versus
day
Hendricks.
after the PlayStation 4 comes out. So if you monkeys can put down your PlayStation 4 controller long enough, this is one hell of a stacked card.
It really is. And before we go into the main card, I'm just going to say some names that are on fucking the preliminary card. Okay,
On the 7-Eleven card?
The 7-Eleven card, dude. Eric Perez is going to be fighting Edwin Figueroa. Brian Ebersol, Mr. fucking Arrow, his chest hair, is going to be fighting Rick Story. Ed Herman's going to be fighting Talis Latis, and Donald Cerrone is going to be fighting Evan Dunham. So you're looking at those fights, which literally that preliminary card is comparable to like a fight night card. I mean, really is, in my opinion. And then you go to the first, fight on the main card, which is the flyweight fight between Tim Elliott and Ali Baba. No, that's not really his name. I'm sure if this guy sees me, he'll punch him. Ali Bagatinov. I don't know what it is.
And I'm going with fucking Allah. Ali. That man seems bad as a motherfucker.
He is. I'm gonna go with that. And to my surprise, I'm not really familiar with either one of these flyweights. And I think a lot of us are not familiar with the flyweights because they're just
the flyweights
they haven't been around for.
It's a new weight class for the UFC to have. It's growing, and when you put these guys in with these impressive records, dude, this is going to be an explosive fight. And I'm still going with Ali, but
I'm going to go with it too.
Yeah, to put it this way, to see these guys, name right now. In reality, we would probably. Just on name power, you'd probably rather see Donald Cerrone and Evan Dunham switch places with these guys. But I think he's doing this to try to get people in who are watching it for free and hoping that Donald Cerrone and Evan Dunham put on a hell of a show to the point where people who weren't going to buy the card are now like, oh shit, if those guys fought like that, what do they have on the pay-per-view? They must be fucking nuts.
Right, and that's the thing. And then at the last minute, they'll fucking, blow a wide and run over and drop $50 on the pay-per-view, which is great marketing
so
tactics.
I would expect the Donald Cerrone and Evan Dunham fight to be nuts. And Dana White to be like, look, you two know why you're here. Go earn your money.
Go earn your money. Now, so passing the flyweight fight and going on to a welterweight fight is a very interesting matchup between Josh Koscheck and Tyrone Woodley, who are both great wrestlers.
This has potential to be a fucking snoozer.
Yeah, because if it goes now, I will say this. The one thing I'll say about Koscheck has struggled lately. They're both great wrestlers. If it ends up being that type of fight where it's going to be boring as shit. Now, if Koscheck starts coming out and is ultra aggressive, then I think he could end this fast. If it's the Josh Koscheck of old, then I think he can just knock Tyron Woodley out. But I think if Tyron Woodley locks up with him and takes it to the ground, it's going to be a long fucking night.
And last time we saw Koscheck, he was getting floored by Robbie Lawler.
Now, that'll bring us on to the next fight, which is a welterweight fight, which I cannot wait to fucking see. I cannot wait to see, and that's Rory McDonald versus Robbie Lawler. And it's a very skilled opponent going up against a straight brawler.
I am praying to the MMA gods that Robbie Lawler knocks this fucking robot out. I mean, out.
Right. And it could happen. I mean, if anybody can do it, Robbie Lawler brawls, and if you leave an opening, he'll counterpunch you. He's got power. He's dropped a lot of good fighters during the course of his career. Now, the bottom line, if McDonald's camp is really thinking about this, they're going to be methodically thinking, we got to lock up with Lawler and take him to the ground because they know that's how most people beat Lawler. It's to wear him down and then submit him. But if it stays on his feet for 1 second too long, McDonald could be snoring.
Well, here's what I fully expect to see happen. Rory McDonald to get right outside of the range of Robbie Lawler, bait Robbie Lawler into throwing a punch, and then countering with a takedown. And then just humping him to death for 15 minutes. That's fully what I expect. Now, last time out, we saw Rory McDonald just pepper the shit out of Jake Ellenberger and stay away from him the entire time. Because every time Ellenberger tried to get close and close the distance, Rory jabbed and backed up. Because his mentor, his training partner, does it better than anyone else. And hopefully we'll see his reign come to an end on the same night. But Rory McDonald is definitely skill-wise, technique-wise, age, ability, he's got all that shit over Robbie Lawler. The thing he doesn't have is a fucking heavy ass right hand and a heart like Robbie Lawler. Robbie Lawler will come forward till you kill him. He
will come forward to, and you know what? The other thing, I don't think if it does go to the ground, if McDonald is able to get Lawler to the ground, I don't think. I mean, a lot of times Lawler had problems. He got submitted fighting as a middleweight. You know, he was fighting stronger guys and everything like this. I can't believe that Rory McDonald is as strong as some of these middleweights that, that Robbie Lawler has fought during his career. So it could be a little bit interesting. He could get more stretched out. It could get back up to the ground. Whereas in some of his past fights, he hasn't been able to get it back up to the ground where he has, up to his feet where he has the strength. So it's interesting. If I put my money on it, I'd probably have to go with McDonald. I definitely want to see Robbie Lawler with the KO. I don't think it'll play like...
McDonald has a 2-inch reach advantage. I don't know if that's going to be that much of an advantage for him, but I'm with you. If you put a gun to my head and said put money down, I'm betting on Rory, but my heart wants to see Robbie Lawler shatter this dude's skull.
Yeah, and I hope he continues what he's done at welterweight, because he's looked phenomenal at welterweight. It's like, now he's with the new camp and maybe this camp, but I tell you what, if Robbie Lawler can get out of this fight with a win, he propels himself to the top of the welterweight class. I mean, he's one of these. Now, the next one is a light heavyweight fight between Rashad Evans and Chael Sonnen. This is another interesting fight because Chael Sonnen is ultra aggressive. He's strong. He takes people to the ground. He's a great wrestler, but Rashad Evans is no shabby wrestler either, and he's a great counter, and he's quick, and he's very athletic. And during the course of Rashad Evans' career, he has fought and beat a lot of very good wrestlers that are very similar to Chael Sonnen. How the hell do you think this shit's going to play out, man? It's hard to call. I mean,
it's hard to call in the sense that Chael's got 2 inches on him in height, but he's actually Rashad's 5'11", Chael's 6'1". Rashad's actually got a longer reach. Now, Rashad has to know what Chael Sonnen's going to do. We all know what Chael Sonnen's going to do, but can you keep Chael Sonnen doing from what Chael Sonnen does? Chael Sonnen's going to come over, put his chest to his chest, and try to drag him to the mat. And we've seen Chael Sonnen's submission game come through in times where you didn't expect it. So Rashad has got to be worried about submissions. He's got to be on his game. He's got to stuff takedowns and try to use his hand speed and use his boxing to keep Chael at bay. But if Anderson can't do that, how is Rashad Evans going to do that?
Well, I think this is the thing. I think, they say styles make fights. I think with Rashad Evans, obviously he's a better wrestler than Anderson Silva. I mean, Anderson's great at jiu-jitsu, but he is not as good. Rashad Evans is a good wrestler, and he's beat good wrestlers like Phil Davis and people that are strong, and he fought a great fight against John Jones. A much better fight, in my opinion, than Chael Sonnen did. I think he's great at stuffing takedowns and doing it. If he can use his athleticism to stuff Chael Sonnen's takedowns and keep tired Sonnen out, which is hard to do because Sonnen is crazy athletic. But the other thing you got to remember, Sonnen is not as conditioned at 205 as he is at 185. He's coming up in weight. He's going to be stronger. But I don't know if he's going to have the stamina that you see him when he's at middleweight and he's going into his third round, like, not fading. You know what I'm saying? Or the fourth
right. And the other thing Rashad has for him is he's got a very awkward style.
Yes.
He doesn't stand still. He's not flat-footed. He's up on his toes. He's constantly moving. He's back and forth, head moving. But he's going to have to do that and be able to stay away from Chael because Chael's strong. Chael's real big and he's real strong. And I know Rashad Evans has gone up against these other guys, but we got to figure Chael's juiced up. He's going to be feeling strong. I mean, we've watched him just dominate other people with his wrestling before. And I'm as painful as this is going to be, I think Chael Sonnen is going to win this fight.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, and another thing you got to think is Sonnen's been submitted a lot. I mean, 8 of his losses have come by him being submitted. So I mean, it's just interesting, man. I don't know.
And out of 23 fights, Rashad's won 3 by submission. I'm not real worried if I'm Chael Sonnen about a submission from Rashad Evans.
Yeah, how many knockouts has he had of his wins? Evans.
Evans? I think it was 8. Hold on. He's got 6 by knockout, dude. He's the decision kid.
Yeah.
Out of his wins are almost split. I mean, he's gonna go. I hate decisions.
I put it this way: if Evans can stuff Chael's takedowns, which I think is going to be very hard to do, he's going to win this fight. he's going to win it by decision. If Chael can take him to the ground, then I think he'll win it. It's going to be all about, can Chael take Evans down?
Let me tell you right now. If Rashad Evans stuffs four takedowns, and if he goes 1 for 4 on his takedowns, in other words, 4 for 5, he stuffs 4 out of 5, he'll lose the fight because the judges are fucking moronic. Rashad Evans cannot have this go to if Rashad Evans wants to win this, it can't go to the judges unless it's completely lopsided and standing. If he's relying on stuffing takedowns to win this fight, not gonna happen, dude. The judges have no idea.
Right.
The judges don't give you any credit for stuffing a takedown. They don't give you any credit for getting an escape. They don't give you any credit for getting out of a submission. They only give points for the offensive guys, which drives me up a fucking wall.
Well, it is. It's a fucked up thing. You make a very good point about that. Now, so say, for example, it plays out like this. Sonnen comes in the 4th round. He can't take him down, and Evans peppers him. Then Evans is going to get that round. Now, say it could be fucked up the 2nd round. Sonnen shoots in a bunch of times. He takes Evans down 1 time, lets Evans up. Evans peppers him. They're going to give the round to Sonnen. So what you're saying is if Sonnen has the ability to take Evans down once a round and Evans cannot return that favor, then Sonnen's going to win the fight. And that's a high probability of that happening.
Yes, and we've seen, and here's the thing. No one can even argue that with me. We've seen some of the most lopsided, unreasonable scoring in the history of the UFC in the last 4 or 5 events.
Yeah.
So if this goes to the decision, Rashad Evans is fucked.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's hard. It's a hard fight to win. I think Evans might have to try to just take him down at least once with his quickness and let him up and then pepper him. Just to show.
Sounds like a plan to me, because if I'm Rashad, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's what I would do. Now, it rolls us on to the main event, which everybody's been waiting for, and that's GSP versus Johny Hendricks. And in a funny way, this main event fight could play out the same way. If GSP is able to take Johny Hendricks to the ground, then it will be a boring, which is a thing that we see with GSP all the time. He's so good. He's such a technician. He's methodical about the way he comes into his fights and how he fights his opponents. But George and I have always said this, and some people, especially I think our friends in Canada, get pissed at us, but it's just so fucking boring. It's so boring. And I don't think, I do think this. I don't think Johny Hendricks is going to let that happen.
I think he's going to try his darndest. But let me ask you a real simple question, and it's got a real easy answer. Who has been able to stop GSP's takedown?
Nobody.
Exactly. So I just don't believe Henderson's going to be the one. Now, if GSP wins or loses this fight, I have a feeling this is going to be his last fight in the UFC, win or lose.
I think so too. I think. Go ahead.
I'm about to say, I think he's seeing that movie money. I think he might have some more scripts sitting there at the house. And he's starting to go, well, I can stay in shape, but I don't need to be in MMA shape. He's got a a Powerade commercial or a Gatorade commercial?
I don't know. He's got so many. He's got so many mainstream sponsors now.
Right. Well, I've seen him in the States. Like that's what's strange, because he's huge in Canada. He's won like the Mr. Canada award, umpteen times.
And so look at it this way, George. At the end of the day, if he steps away from MMA, retires, or maybe takes a break, a hiatus from it, it is so much easier to prepare for a movie role physically. Like, he could take gear. He doesn't have to worry about not taking PEDs. Like, he could take a little bit of sauce and stuff to prepare him for his roles. His training is different. He doesn't have to worry about making weight. It's so much easier just to look good. You know what I'm saying?
Eat that cheeseburger.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Come on, man.
Eat some pizza.
Bodybuilders look great. They can look great, but can any of those motherfuckers fight in the octagon? Fuck no. You know what I'm saying? So his preparation for a movie, it'd be a fraction of what it is for these fights,
Right. Now, back to the fight, because that's what we're here to talk about. Does Johny Hendricks stand a chance? Yes, he has a puncher's chance, and we all know that GSP's jaw is his weakest asset.
Right.
His double leg takedown is the best in the 170 class in history at this point. He's developed a ferocious jab. He's crazy athletic. He's got he's got all the tools, and he has all the tools, and that's why he's undefeated. And he's gone on this run. He's not undefeated, but he's undefeated since 2007, I think was his last loss. Yeah. So he's a champ for a reason, and we all know how this guy holds the belt.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, it's like I said when we started with it, it's just, he looks at what your weaknesses are. He exploits them, and then basically he uses all his strengths and say, okay, now if I'm Hendricks camp, I'm thinking, okay, all I'm doing is fucking practicing stuff and takedowns, and getting on the inside. Because I think if you press the action if you just really come forward with GSP and you tap him, I don't think GSP has a jaw. He's just so fucking good that no one gets a chance to test it. The one time he did, Matt Serra, bam, he was snoring. He got a TKO against GSP.
Well, what I find funny is if you look at GSP's record, I mean, his three since his loss. Mm-hmm. In April of 2007, mm-hmm. he's had, anytime he fights what I consider to be smaller guys in his weight class, Matt Hughes was jacked, but he was short and compact. Right. Matt Serra, short and compact. BJ mm-hmm. was too fucking small to be fighting at 170. Those are the only three guys he's finished. That's it.
Yeah.
He hasn't finished anyone his size or bigger, ever.
No, because his size, I mean, those shorter guys, he can use his, obviously he can use his range and pepper them, and he's great at stuffing takedowns as well as taking you down to the canvas. I mean, to the floor. But I just, you're right, George. When he fights somebody of his stature, then he's like, okay, I've got to keep my range. I've got to take them down. I've got to wear them out. I've got to tire them, and then I can take advantage of my other tools. And he's smart, and his camp is smart, and we know, Greg Jackson is going to have him, is he still working with Greg Jackson all the time? I mean, I don't even know.
Is the Pope white?
Right. So anyway.
Dumbass. But I don't know about how you guys treat your friends out there, but usually Kevin and I allow each other one stupid question a month, and Kevin mm-hmm. just burned his up on November 3rd.
It's November 4th, bitch.
Whatever. But I'm going to tell you want to know what I find to be Hendricks' biggest disadvantage in this fight?
What?
He's 5'9" with a 69-inch reach. Yeah. GSP has a 7-inch reach advantage on this kid.
Yeah, that's fucking crazy. He's going to have to get in the inside.
Who do you think is going to fucking pepper the shit out of this kid with his jab?
Yeah. It's going to be interesting. Anyway, guys, thoughts and comments below.